This is walking into the bus. Storage for shoes. The dashboard. A curtain to block out the light. It's a blackout curtain. And this is the layout of the front. Pull-out couch on this side. This pulls out and it almost meets to the other end, so this front can be a bed.
We also have storage underneath.
Storage underneath, yes.
All of these will open, and you can open it and
Yep.
put things underneath.
And there's also storage on the other side. This is where we kept a lot of our homeschool books. This cabinet as well. Kitchen cabinets. Full-size stove. Deep sink, which is amazing for a family that has a lot of dishes. Small RV size fridge and freezer. Storage above. And back in the kitchen, we have this pull-out pantry. That was one of my absolute favorite things because we were able to store so many kitchen items here. This is the electronic powerhouse of the bus. This is the batteries for the solar.
We can talk about the technical specs at the end of the video.
Yep. Next to that is a closet area that my husband built for our kids. So each kid had a cubby. And there's a bed. 4 beds, 2 on each side. Each bed has a railing that we hung curtains. There's a light for each kid as well. There's also storage underneath the 2 bottom beds.
And inside the bed too.
And inside each bed. There is also a way to store. So there's quite a bit of storage. This is where they stored all of the clothes that we had for them that were not in season. And the clothes that they accessed every day went right here. Here's the bathroom door. Compost toilet. Toilet paper holder, water tank, water heater, small sink, storage in the bathroom, which is always invaluable, mirror, shower, curtain rod, and a towel holder that's anchored to the wall. Then in the back, the master bedroom. Underneath the bed is storage. This is the water tank for clean water. And underneath that is where we were able to store things like blankets and stuff that we didn't use regularly. Mini split is above the bed with 2 additional lights, book lights. There is a closet for storage. And there's also a television back here. Going back up to the front, we have LVP flooring. We put some rugs down during the winter just to keep our feet cozy. But these are removable, obviously, and the floor is wonderful. TV up front. And we put some hooks up here for just jackets and stuff. We have covers for the windows that we used at night. When you take the covers off, it's just Reflectix on the back to reflect sun and just to keep it nice and cozy.
And one cool thing about this particular Skoolie is you have screens on the outside, so if you were to open up the windows, it'll keep the bugs out.
Yep.
In the spring and summertime.
And also, well, recessed lighting throughout, but also we have 2 of these max air fans that are wonderful. One right here in the kitchen, right by the stove for when you're cooking. And one in the back by the bedrooms, just outside the master, just for airflow. So if you have them both running at the same time during nice cold weather, it creates quite a bit of airflow. There is wool insulation underneath. And there's a double layer in the kids area behind those walls. So this area is very nicely insulated. Anything else you can think of?
Yeah, so we can talk about technical specs as well. Trying to figure out how to flip this camera around. It's not there. All right, so aim it at me.
Okay.
So just didn't have a chance to say it at the beginning of the video. I'm Dave, this is my wife Christina, this is our bus, and just to kind of go through a lot of the technical specs that a lot of you guys would probably ask, I'll just kind of go through a list. First of all, it's a 37-foot Bluebird bus. It is a TC2000 model, 1998. It has an 8.3 liter Cummins engine in it with the 3000 series Allison transmission. So we have taken it out west, gone up and down mountains, and it does a really good job handling that, just like any medium duty size vehicle would. If you aim here, you got security cameras at the front. You have a side view down both sides, and you also have a front view and a rear view when you're backing up. The lower right there is blocked by the Reflectix, but that is the front view out the front of the bus, and then the upper left is your rear view when you're backing up, so you can see what's there. When it makes it easier, just like a rear camera on a car.
Yep.
And then you have the side view as well. It really acts as great deterrent from a security perspective, more than anything, but the cameras do record. Let's see what else. We've got 1,775 watts of solar with 800 amp hours of battery power. It's a 12 volt system, and we felt that 12 volt was best. I know a lot of people ask the question, why not 24 or even 48 volts? It definitely does shrink the size of the wires that you need. However, it's things like the max air fans that wouldn't operate on anything other than 12 volts. So just for universal usage of all types of power, I decided to spend the money on the wire and made everything a 12 volt system. It keeps it pretty simple, no issues with anything working. But you also have AC power receptacles throughout the unit, so you can run all your standard appliances. There is an inverter, an Ames inverter in it that can handle up to 30 amps of power. So when you're hooked up, you can plug in on a 50 amp, but ultimately the inverter is limited to about 30 amps. So basically what that means is if you're running a coffee pot and generally takes about 10, 11 amps, you're running something else that's taking up a similar amount of amps, you're at 20, you know, maybe the mini split's running in the back. If you start getting close to 30 amps, the inverter is going to sound an alarm, you're reaching their limit. That is very rare. In most cases, we lived in this for 2.5 years. We did not have really any issues because it's rare that you're running that much power at the same time. If you're pulling it from the batteries, you know, you're obviously going to be pulling a lot more power, but the batteries are able to handle a substantial amount of amperage because the wires there are 4-aught wires. They can handle even more than the 30 amps. So you're going to get a lot of life out of it. I can say this, that with the amount of solar that is on this, we spent about a month in Texas during a sunny time, and we were able to run completely on solar without any need for hookup to power. Mm-hmm. So especially when you're using just the general lighting and the basic appliance use, making coffee in the morning, things like that, if you're in a sunny area, the majority of the time it's going to be enough to keep you going. Even the mini split, if you run it on low, it can generally handle it during the summer in a sunny area. However, what we would recommend as far as cooling during the hot months is putting a portable AC unit in the front and just venting it out the side, front side window of the bus, and that helps cool the front, because with the long aisleway running along the bus, the mini split tends to work really well for the back side of the bus, and the portable would work for the front side of the bus. And in situations where you're in the evening, we would have a curtain rod in the middle where we would close it, and that would trap cool air in the hotter months and warm air in the cooler months, and that's how we were able to stay warm or cool at night.
We also forgot to mention one of the main things that we loved is underneath the counter right here is a diesel heater spout. So we have 2 diesel heaters. The other one is in the back right here by the closet. They work amazing for heating during cold nights.
So just to give you an idea of how well the heat works, in the winter when it was single digits and teens outside, we had those things running not even half power, and it was toasty in here.
Yeah.
The diesel heaters tend to put out heat that's, pretty substantially 200 degrees. I mean, it doesn't obviously feel that hot in here, but as it spreads out throughout the bus, you'll easily get up to 70, 80. If you were to put it on full power, it would actually be too much. Yeah. So the heating does work really well. The mini split also does have a heat pump too, so that also produces heat. Once it starts getting extreme temperatures, when I say extreme, I mean when you start getting in the 20s and lower, the mini split does tend not to work as well. That's where you would fire up your diesel heaters and they would pick up the slack. But if it was 30s, 40s outside, and you were running the mini split, it would probably do a pretty good job if you were to put that curtain up and close it at night, and it would keep you nice and toasty. As far as water is concerned, we have a 100-gallon tank on board. There's a water pump that pumps throughout. We got 2 46-gallon gray tanks underneath. We do not have a black tank because we do have a compost toilet. It would handle it that way, but as far as all the drainage for the bathroom sink, the kitchen sink, and the shower, all of that runs into the gray tanks. It is fully off-grid unit. You have all the power that you need, the water that you need, the heating, the cooling, the security cameras. What else am I missing? This unit will come with a generator as well. In the winter months, all of the external piping is wrapped with heat wire and insulation, so you can actually keep all that stuff warm so that it doesn't freeze up on you. Thanks to my awesome engineer of a wife, she figured out a cool solution and we worked on it together and made it happen. It does have a standard drain for all of the gray tanks, so you can hook up at any RV center that any regular RV would hook up to. The input for the power is also the same. You could drive up to any RV site and hook in just like any regular RV would.
You can hook into a 30 amp and
a 50 amp.
Yep.
And I've even hooked it to 15 and 20 amps before. If you have Watchdog and all the proper adapters, you can monitor the power, and you can really charge this battery system on any amount of power up to 50 amps, and it can handle it. So I don't think there's anything else as far as the stove here does run on propane. All the heat, the hot water heater runs on propane. One thing worth noting, and this is one of the things that we would have changed if we had an opportunity. This is a ventless hot water heater. It doesn't technically need to be vented outside. I know most do, but this was a less expensive one. And because of the venting, it does put out a lot of moisture and hot air. So if you have the door shut for a long period of time and you're running hot water, it does tend to get extremely hot and stuffy in there, and it does affect the hot water heater. So what we had to do when we were doing dishes for 20-30 minutes or taking a hot shower, we did have to leave the door cracked or open so that there was ventilation. We would kick on the max air fans and drive that moist air out of the bus, and it worked really well.
And it was never really a problem with having 6 of us and a dog living on this bus, because in this spot right here is where we would have a curtain, like a privacy curtain. So this would be shut. The bathroom door would be cracked or open.
Others could basically be in the bus and we would still have privacy.
Yep, to change behind that curtain.
In the event that you wanted to make an update and add a better water heater in, you could put a hole through the side and vent it outside if you really wanted to.
Yep.
There's also a vent going outside for the compost toilet that helps reduce smells. I know that's a question a lot of people ask.
Yep.
That vent did significantly reduce that, so it was never really a huge problem outside of what a normal house would be.
And part of the reason why we chose a compost toilet and not to have a black tank is because it's more environmentally friendly. We could just take the trash from the toilet, dump it. We wouldn't have to pay a whole ton for black tank dumping. It was just sink water and shower water that was in our gray tank.
Yep, and then just a little bit more on the solar. There are 2 solar arrays, which basically just means there's 2 sets of solar panels. I have 3 325 watt panels up there on one array, and then another array there's 4 200 watt panels. So you will see 2 charge controllers back there for those of you who understand how the technical speak works. That feeds into the system and keeps the batteries charged. It works really well. Even we're in Michigan where it's overcast most of the winter. I left the solar system running all winter, and the batteries continue to remain, as long as I'm not running power, they remain pegged at 99-100% majority of the time. We've been in here already for an hour running all kinds of things, and it's only gone down 1%. If you were using power, just kind of watching TV and hanging out, lights on, I mean, it would literally take days to run these batteries out. 800 amp hours of battery is quite a bit. And basically all that means is you run 800, you can run 1 amp for 800 hours before the batteries run out. But as long as you have charge feeding into it, it runs down much slower than that. So generally speaking, you won't have an issue there. We do have a propane detector in the event that propane leaks anywhere. This system will sound an alarm and tell you to check for the propane leak. So that helps if any of you are worried and concerned, because I know I've heard stories about propane leaks and what that has done. So it was always a concern of ours.
We tried to safeguard against that.
Yep. So anything else?
One thing that you may have noticed is that the master bedroom you have to climb into. We used that spot back there to put the water tank. So I'm 5'4". I need a step stool to get in there. It's fine. It never bothered me. Also, Dave, how tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
5'10".
If you're about 6 foot, you're probably going to be okay. But if you start getting to 6'1" plus, your head is going to start scraping the ceiling. So in this particular unit, it is ideally for you to be 6 foot or less. Anybody that's taller than 6 foot is probably going to struggle because they're going to have to put their head down a little bit. So that's an important thing to know if you're considering buying this.
Yeah, that worked for us because we're not super tall.
Nope.
I think that's it. And we just have to do a video of the outside.
Thank you for doing a walkthrough with us. If you have any questions, feel free to ask or send us a message and we'll be happy to help.
Yep.